Hi, BookTube. Welcome to Jackie's Literary Corner. I am Jackie, and it's time for a tag video. So it's the middle of the year, with the month of June being the 6th month of the year. So it's time for the mid-year check-in book tag. I don't know if I'll do the mid-year freakout tag. I might do it because a couple years ago I said I wanted to do, or maybe last year I said I wanted to do both of them every year, but I probably will. I'll probably do it. But right now I'm doing the mid-year check-in tag. So you guys know how this works. So here are the questions. The first question is the best book of the year that you've read so far. And I picked Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson. Now, of course, there's a little bit of influence of I am so happy to finally finish this book, to say I've read it and completed it and can jump into the next book, Words of Radiance. But this is, I really am definitely one of those Brandon Sanderson stans. I love his work. Now, I haven't read everything by him, and I still have not continued after reading Skyward, I think is the first book in that particular trilogy. I haven't continued it. So, but I did like it. I did enjoy it at the time when I read that one. I just haven't continued it. So, but mostly I have enjoyed his work. And this one was really great. First, I love the whole magic system of, the getting power from the storms. I think that was cool. I like all the main characters. Dalinar, I like that he's an older character and a parent, and that he's kind of struggling because he's trying to make up for his past mistakes. And there's this question of, is he crazy? Because he's listening to this book his brother read. He's taking the ideas from it and thinking about them, and but because it's so different from the way these people think, the people of Roshar think, that it's like, oh no, something's wrong with you, you're crazy. And I always like that storyline of where you're wondering, is this person like actually, like, are they right or are they wrong? Maybe, what are they, crazy to think the way they do, or maybe they actually have a good point. I also like Kaladin, and I just want to give that guy a hug. I know that can't solve what he's dealing with, depression, and I just feel so bad when he blames himself for everything that happens to people in his life because they are connected to him and somehow he survives, especially his brother. And I hope he sees his parents again, but by the time he sees them again, they might not even be around anymore. I want him to get closure with them though, and because I don't think they would blame him for what happened to their other son. I don't remember his brother's name. And he's just, and like most people at Bridgeforce, awesome. I like that I also am one of those many people who loves the found family trope, and I like how we see characters that start out where they don't trust each other, where like these guys don't trust Kaladin and he's just another slave, but he ends up winning their respect. And they see him as a leader, even though he just tries to push people away and doesn't see himself in that way. I love Sean. I think she's the one I connect with the most. She's a scholar. I mean, I'm very fortunate and don't have to deal with the same problems that she does. But still, I'm definitely not an artist. I cannot draw worth my life, but I think I still feel the strongest connection to her as a character. And just the mystery of the mysterious Way of Kings and the mysterious voice that keeps talking to communicate with Dalinar's visions, and the mysterious voice that communicates with Kaladin, and the whole deal with the assassin and everything, and all the mysteries that are slowly revealed to us, and just, this is just so cool. Like, this is such a great book, and I wish my review of it had been better, but for some reason I have trouble reviewing these epic fantasy books, and it's probably to do with the fact it takes me so long to read them, and it's, because people that like when I've mentioned that to my dad, how sometimes there's books that are this long that take me a long time to read, and I put them down for long periods of time. He had said, well, when I don't like a book, I put it down and I just get rid of it, decide not to read it anymore. So I think he thinks that when I put a book down, that means that I'm permanently DNFing it, which is not the case. Like, if I put it down, that doesn't mean, it just means, like, I need to take a break from it. Or, like, I just get distracted from other books, and I'm not used to reading books this long. But anyway, I just love this. I just can't do a good review of it. Because I just love it. So, yeah, that is question number 1. Brandon Sanderson's Way of Kings. Okay, question number 2. Best sequel you've read, and this is not a second book in a series, this is the third book in a series, and I did read it years ago, but I barely remember it. I only remember one aspect of it, and it's still kind of one of my favorite aspects. And that is The Wastelands from the third book in the Dark Tower series. This is such a cool series. It almost has a steampunk feel to it, or like a sci-fi feel to it, with the world that Roland of Gilead comes from. We spent a lot more time in Roland's world, which I really like. I mean, our world is great, and seeing the Eddies and Susanna and I cannot believe I forgot that boy's name. Let me see if it's on Jake. And Jake's versions of New York and everything, that's great. But I've been to New York. I know what New York looks like. I mean, I'm not from the time period that each of these people are from, but I still, I'm familiar with New York. So it's more interesting to me when we get to see Roland's world, which, I mean, and it's so cool, and and we spent a lot more time with it, and the cyborg bear was I really liked that part. And the one part I do remember is Blaine the Mono, which, funny enough, he's not in here as much. I mean, he's in the background, kind of. Like, there's a hint of him that he's gonna show up at some point, like, especially with the picture book that Jake buys. But surprisingly, he doesn't come until towards the end of the book, and he's a little bit more involved in the beginning of the first book. Like, he's the fourth book, not the first, the fourth book. He's in the beginning, but that's about it. So I was kind of surprised, but he, to me, as an antagonist, he definitely stands out a lot because he's very Gollum-like. I mean, every time I talk about this book, I always compare Blaine the Mono to like the Thomas the Tank Engine with Gollum's personality. That's how I think of Blaine the Mono. But yeah, and just in really watching, like, this is definitely Eddie's story and seeing him grow and develop and really come out of his shell and escape his brother's shadow in this book. And then Susanna expects quite a bunch too, although of course there is a part in this book, that classic Stephen King, that just makes you really uncomfortable. And it's one of those uncomfortable moments where, is it really necessary to put that in there? Like, there are moments, like, there are things that make you uncomfortable, but it's necessary to put in the story, or it's more tolerable or understandable that he has it in there. Like, disgusting characters that are antagonistic, or just showing how there are horrible people in the world, even if they're not like an all-out villain. But then there's things in there that you just like, really? Did you have to put that in there? You could have gone a different route with that, but you can't obviously take that out. So, and then I did like all the locations they went to. There was the forest in the beginning with the Shaddix, the bear, and then you see what's left of the remaining people And I kind of like, I like the imagery of a world that's like falling apart and stuff. Kind of like, very much like, but I just watched it. That show that's, that really, it's based on the video game. For some reason I can't think of what it's called. It's on HBO. I cannot believe. By the time I'm done filming, I'm gonna remember what it's called. But with the, the virus, and it's based on the video game where the guy has to protect the girl because she's the only survivor of the virus, and I cannot believe I can't think of what it's called. I think it's one word. It's one word, a one-word title. Either it's gonna pop in the middle of my filming, answering when I'm answering another question, or it's gonna when I stop filming. But I think you guys know. Hopefully, you guys know what show I'm talking about when I. But anyway, I mentioned it because it kind of has a similar idea where the world is like most of the human population has died, and they're in this situation where they'll have to survive, and you see, and just everything's falling apart. Nature has kind of overgrown the environment has taken over kind of scenario, where just seeing the imagery of seeing a world where everything is, I mean, it's also depressing imagery, but it's also really cool when you read it in fiction, where at the moment everything that couldn't, as far as we know, that probably won't happen for us, but just seeing in the world of fiction is a really fascinating and disturbing. And that's why I kind of think of that in this book a little bit. Without the the virus, but although we don't know what killed, what changed things. And seeing all these people, and then the other two antagonists, the TikTok man and his right hand man, that guy, they were so creepy and annoying, and at the same time it's just like, those villains that you don't want to get upset because they might snap. But yeah, it was so cool, and I did start reading book 4, but I haven't picked it up. I've taken a step back from it, but I will pick it up soon. I want to get to it before the end of this year, because I don't want to make the same mistake. It takes so long to read each book in the series, and then to eventually feeling like, oh, I need to start over. But yeah, The Wastelands is the best sequel so far. Okay, so next is new release you haven't read yet but want to. So I don't have a book to show you guys, but I picked, and I was reminded of this book, the last take of the Flower Bride. It might be The Last Tale. That doesn't make any sense. So it's probably The Last Tale of the Flower Bride. I've been reminded of this book lately. This is this sounded really creepy and really good. It's like one of those stories where, and it's had a similar, it kind of reminds me of how the plot for, Jane Lawrence was described, where someone, and actually the tale in Crimson Peak also has a similar plot, where someone marries this rich person, and then they're told, or this rich attractive person, they're told, you can't ask any questions about my life, or the person is very cryptic, and it's just like, barely tells you anything, except for it's the reverse, where it's the woman is the mysterious person, and the guy, marries her. And so that's definitely was something that I was intrigued by, the fact that it was gender swapped, where it was the woman who was the mysterious one with the dark past and might be dangerous. So we have, and it is a 2-perspective story. I don't remember how the other perspective is connected. I cannot remember what people have said in the reviews. But, and then I can't remember if it's the other perspective is the guy or someone else, but, yeah, and they end up going to her home, and she has to, and so, and I really, like I said, what intrigued me was it was a gender swap scenario where it was the where it's the woman again who's the mysterious one. It might have some dark secrets. That is what got my attention, and then the rest of the premise. So I don't know when I'll get to that. But it's definitely on my list as one's new release that I want to read. Okay, question number 4. And finding love, my answer has 4 in the title. So most anticipated release for the second half of the year, and I'm assuming it has come out in the second half of the year because I just started hearing about it. And that's Fourth Wing. And as soon as I heard the premise, it definitely got on my intrigue, which is that it's a dragon rider, and I believe it's a female dragon rider. And I'm one of those people who like that. I really love that concept. I did like Aragon, although I never finished that series. I didn't get the 4th one. And I think I still have the books because I think I set them aside for my nephews one day. But although my sister does not want me to save books for them, but I still have a box full of books that I would like to save for them, like books from my youth. I can't officially say childhood because I read them when I was still kind of a teenager, or a preteen at least. So I did save those. And actually, what's great is I have 2 copies of Harry Potter Book 3 because I finally had a good excuse to get the 3rd book. A new copy of the 3rd book. And I don't think my sister ended up taking it because someone gave them her copies, but at least I'll have my copy. So if I live with them one day in the future, because I might one day, I'll at least have copies for them if they ever want to reread it. But anyway, but yeah, I have Aragon saved for them in the future if they're interested. And I might want to reread it someday. I think. I'll have to double check on that. But anyway, I mentioned that because Fourth Wing is, similar, where there's a dragon rider in training. I'm sure there's some big bad that she has to fight and everything. And it just sounded really cool. Although there have been polarizing reviews of it. Not everybody loved it. But a lot of the people that I watch enjoyed it. At least 2 of them anyway. I shouldn't say a lot because really there's only 2 people so far that I've heard mention it, and then 1 person who bought it. Actually, it might be 3. I don't know if she read it or not. But Elliot Brooks, Jessie May, and then Jennifer Brooks mentioned it, and I don't know if she's read it. I cannot remember if she read it or not because I watched a vlog of her reading it. But I know Elliot Brooks read it, and I think Jessie May did too. So 3 of my favorite booktubers. So yeah, that's a release that I want to get to soon. Okay, so question number 5 is biggest disappointment, and that is Memoirs and Misinformation by Jim Carrey. And I should have looked this up. It does have a ghostwriter to go with it, someone who wrote it with him. I cannot remember. It is a woman, I believe. I should have looked it up. But anyway, so this is a memoir by Jim Carrey, but it's not technically a memoir. The disappointing fact is that it's not an actual memoir. Like, it's a sort of memoir, but it's done in a fictionalized way. It's weird because he doesn't actually talk about his life in his real life. He talks about like an exaggerated version or like a made up version. Like it's not, basically it's hard to explain because I just know that it was not what I was looking for, and I was very disappointed with it. I'm a big fan of Jim Carrey as an actor and comedian. And I expected his actual life story, and if he didn't want to write that, that's fine. If that's not what he wanted to write, I get that. And I feel bad because if someone got it for me as a gift, and it was a hardback, so it was a little bit more expensive than a paperback. But it's just a big disappointment because I read it and I started reading. I didn't even get very far, like maybe chapter 3, and it was just not what I was looking for. So yeah, that's probably, as of right now, that's my biggest disappointment. It probably will be the only. I mean, I did think about putting the moon in its shadow. I cannot think what it's called. The moon and its that one fantasy book. Um, All About Mads did a review, a rant review of that one, and she also did a rant review of the second one, which I did not read the sequel. That one was also kind of a disappointment. But I think in the end, Memoirs of Misinformation is my biggest disappointment between the two of them. Okay, so biggest surprise. And that is Anne of Green Gables. Like, now, as I've said before, I admit that I'm wearing I like middle grade to an extent, but sometimes I'm just not in the mood for it. And the writing style is very different because I'm not the target audience. It's a little more simple and a little more meant for young readers, like kids going into their preteen years. Like, that's the preteen age. So the writing is very different from when I'm, the kind of writing that is meant for people my age. And sometimes I get annoyed, I admit, with middle grade. So I have to be in the perfect mood to read middle grade, to get into that childlike mind space. And I guess I picked perfect timing. And a lot of people, like Kaylee from Lumaless, cannot say a word, Lumaless Libro. I think she was the one who told me that I would, talked about it, and, I commented on her video and said I was thinking about it, and she said I shouldn't. I told her why I was hesitant, because, I'm not the target demographic for these books, so I wasn't sure if I would appreciate it. And she said you do grow with Anne as a main character, and I really enjoyed it, because I did like the TV show Anne with an E, and I think I liked the miniseries from back in the 80s, although it's been so long. It is on my wish list. I don't know if I'll ever get it, but it is on my Amazon wish list. Maybe for Christmas. But anyway, this was such a cute, fun story. I loved Anne as a main character, and like I said, I was surprised that I actually picked the perfect time to read, which I think springtime is the best time to read this. It's wholesome, and there's a lot of nature imagery, and it's so fun. And yes, Anne, it does have Anne going to school and everything, but I still say it's more of a spring read. It's just so cozy and fun, and it just made me happy. It was just so warm and a comfort read. And I do want to introduce it to my niece when she's old enough, because she's only 3 right now, so gotta wait a few years. And maybe one day my sister can read it to her. Or I can read it to her. My sister or my brother-in-law can read it, or my mom could read it to her. But yes, it's just such a comfort and so sweet. And, again, I just loved Anne. She's just something else. She's awesome. Okay, so favorite new author debut or new to you. Now, I felt like I gotta talk about Oh, wait, I do have the book. I could have showed it to you, but I gotta go in and talk about this author. Jessica Gokin, I think her name is. No, I've only read one book, that's why I was hesitant, but I feel like I gotta talk about it, because I met her, and I did really enjoy her book. If you like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, you probably would like her book, Ashes, Ashes, and I think it's gonna be a series. It's a YA, and it was just really cool and fun. It was like this girl who fights monsters. She's 17. She's in the foster system, because once it was discovered that she had magic, her parents kind of freaked out and were like, decided the best solution was to pass her off to someone, because they couldn't handle it. So she slays monsters, and there's a love, and she has a crush on one, becomes a love interest, and he's also ends up being revealed. There's some interesting intrigue about him as a character. So I didn't really appreciate that he wasn't just, just the damsel in distress who, thinks it's so cool, but always is in danger. Like, he actually can handle himself. And it kind of also, like, dealt with not, other demons and, Hecate, if you know your Wicca you're Wicca, then you might know who Hecate is. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that name right, but it was such a cool book. It's a very easy to read writing style, very fast paced and exciting. There were a few, like, of course, again, it didn't have the element of where there was a couple typos here and there whenever like something is self-published or independently published. I noticed that there's more of a chance to have typos. But it was such a cool story, and it's like I said, it was very easy to read. And it was kind of, and I think she's a really good author and has a lot of potential to be really great. I look forward to more work by her. So I feel like I should give a shout out, even though I've only read one thing by her, so far. I mean, I did start to read. She sent people who signed up, gave emails to her that signed up for her newsletter. She did send us a free sample of a short story she wrote, and I still need to finish that. But I feel like I should give her a shout out because she's really good on there, and I think has a lot of potential to be really great. So that's a favorite new author. Okay, so next is newest fictional crush. I don't have one for that. I don't have to answer for that one. Oh. Yeah, I don't have an answer for that one because I just kind of step away from getting fictional crushes, and I'm more prone to get a fictional crush on like a TV show or movie. Anyway, and so far I don't have anything new. Let me see what. Well, let's see, what have I been. I don't know. I'm trying to think of what new stuff I've been watching, because I've been watching a lot of reruns of Charmed lately. I'm trying to think of I did like King George. That he's kind of cute. I wouldn't say a crush, but I did, and it is a book. I think she wrote I can't remember the author's name of the Bridgerton series. I think she did do a Queen Charlotte book, and it became a show. So I don't know. I don't have one. Okay. Newest favorite character. And again, Anne Shirley Cuthbert. I love her. She's so imaginative. You just want to hang out with her. I love how passionate she is. She's a bit emotional and very sensitive person. Sometimes, just sometimes she can be overly emotional and have bad reactions to someone, being stern with her. But that's like she has a lot of issues, and she was an orphan and had her parents taken from her and was in an orphanage. And I feel like Anne with an E does give more context to what Anne goes through and why she's so sensitive. But she's just so lovable and has such a great imagination. She's such a good and loyal friend. She really cares about the people in her life. She loves fiercely. And she's just so endearing. Even when she's losing her temper, it's just like, especially like when she breaks her chalkboard slate on Gilbert's head because he teased her about her hair and called her carrots. She does care a lot about her appearance and has a lot of insecurities, but she doesn't let him get her down. She makes mistakes, and and there's actually articles on the possibility that she might have ADHD, and they make some good arguments, referring both to the books and the adaptations, especially Anne with an E, that argue the case of ADHD. And yeah, they didn't know about it back then, but it doesn't mean it wasn't there. They just didn't know about it. But yeah, I just love Anne, and I would love to be her friend and talk to her about books and talk about, go on adventures with her. I love all the different, when she gets to Green Gables, she, and renames everything in a more creative name. I love the name she comes up with, the Shining Waters. And she just warms her way to everybody's hearts. Like, even though she doesn't have a lot of direct conversations with her best friend Diana's mom, and most of the time Diana's mom is just getting frustrated with her because she's, getting Diana into trouble. I feel like she does influence. Although I'm thinking more along the TV show. But like she's just such a good, wonderful, warm-hearted person, and I just love her. She's just so sweet. So yeah, this is my favorite new favorite fictional character. Okay, so question number 10 is book that made you cry. Again, I don't cry that. I rarely cry in books. I mean, if I don't, in fact, I don't cry at all. I'm more prone to cry in a movie or TV show. And I cried for the first time in a book last year, but that was last year. I haven't cried in books yet this year. So I don't have an answer for that one. Jackie, we're gonna go for a walk. Okay. Bring your clothes down when you get a chance. Okay. Sorry about that. My mom was calling up to me. Okay, so a book that made you happy. And I would have said Anne of Green Gables, which is true, but I didn't want to say that again. Because I referenced Anne Shirley in a previous question, and then I mentioned the book itself as a book that surprised me in a good way. So I decided the next best book that I read this spring was The Secret Garden. Again, another one where I liked the adaptation, and I originally had another copy of this book, a paperback copy. It's the one that's pea green with the image of Mary Lennox peeking through the garden gate. I had that copy. It was actually a gift for me, but I ended up deciding I wasn't going to read it. I just would rather watch the movie at the time. And I don't have the movie anymore. I don't have it on DVD or Blu-ray. I would love to get it. That's one of the ones I would love to get on Blu-ray. Like maybe if it's, if I get a Walmart. Although I've never seen it at Walmart, so I mean it could be in that bin. One of those bins. But anyway, this is such a touching read, and I'm pleased to know that this is one of those ones. The adaptations, at least the one that I have, the one with Maggie Smith as Miss Medlock, is very accurate with the dialogue. Like there's lines directly from the book that are that they use in the movie. It's pretty close. I mean, there are some changes, and like Miss Medlock, for example, I think she's more antagonistic in the movie adaptation, and she's more intimidating to me. On the book, she's like very, she's stern still, but I feel like she's not, we don't have as many moments. Like there's the moment when they find out Mary's been associating with spending time with Colin. The doctor, although he does get a little suspicious about it. And actually, it turns out the doctor in the book is actually related to Colin. And they suggest the possibility that he wants the money if, because he could inherit if something happens to Colin. They kind of hinted that in the book. But it's not in the adaptation I've seen. But like in the adaptation, Miss Medlock and the doctor get like, they're not pleased with Mary hanging out with him, and they try to keep her locked in her room and keep them separate. And I'm trying to remember if they had the scene that was in my adaptation where they used an Indian ritual to summon. I mean, I think that it might have been in there. It just wasn't as, wasn't as detailed as I think. Or maybe they didn't actually do the whole singing that song, that prayer and everything when they snuck out at night in the adaptation. But it might have just been, him praying, being like, I would love for my dad to come home and see me. And, so they didn't have that part. And I was a little disappointed by the ending, but this book still makes me happy because it was so much fun. And again, beautiful descriptions of nature. And it's just like, I wish I had read it sooner. So again, another book that I want to, present to my niece when she's old enough. I mean, maybe my nephews can read it if they want to, but it's it kind of has a kind of a girl book, more of a girl book. But maybe my nephews would actually like it. But yeah, I'm glad I read it, because I feel like there are a lot of books that I could have read as a kid that I feel like I missed out on. You know, because I felt like I was kind of a couch potato growing up. Although, surprisingly, Mom disagrees, because she still talks about how I always had a book in my hand. I just feel like I watched more TV shows than read, and until like Harry Potter. But anyway, yeah. So there's a lot of But yeah, this is such a beautiful story, and definitely made me feel warm and cozy. Again, a book I recommend reading in the springtime. I mean, you can read it any time of year you want. Both these books, both this one and Anne of Green Gables, but both of those books also feel more like spring books, and it's just so cozy. And I love the descriptions of the garden and everything, and just and it's one of the better, one of the books that has good adaptations, I think, or at least the one I've seen. I don't know about the other ones, because I know there was one that came with a series of movies that my aunt had a collection of, and then there's one recently in 2020 that I feel like it kind of got the short end of the stick, because it was still during COVID, and yeah, people were staying home so you could watch it on streaming, but I feel like it wasn't as advertised. Like, I only know it because I like Secret Garden, so I only knew about it. And I know that Colin Firth is in it as the uncle. Like I said, but anyway, this was such a, I am so happy to have read this. It was so great and so much fun, so it definitely made me happy. Okay, so that was the last question, although for some reason when I see this tag and I see other people doing it and realize that they're doing this tag, it seems like there's more questions than these 11 questions that I'm missing out on that people do. But anyway, so like I said, I might do the freak out tag. I don't know. I mean, I did say once that I wanted to do it every year, so maybe I should do it. I mean, although I don't think you guys will, if I don't do it, I don't think you guys are going to get mad or anything if I don't do it, or, but, so I might, at least just to have some content for you guys, because sometimes I've struggled with coming up with good content that I, want to, that I feel like, that I'm worried, is this boring to you guys? And I mean, the goodness, I have a lot of you guys watching my channel, so I guess it's not, but, either way, I do like doing tags, though, so. That is the mid-year freakout book, the mid-year, I was combining the names of this, the mid-year check-in tag. If you want to let me know, maybe you can pick one of these questions to answer in the comments below, or you can, do this tag, and actually, I think I might tag, there is someone I might tag, because I've never tagged them before, but I've been in contact with this person a couple times, like we've commented back and forth on each other's videos a couple times, so maybe we can actually find someone that I could regularly tag. But anyway, if any of you guys are interested, it's kind of, like I said, it's always a fun tag to do, because then it's kind of letting people know where you are with your reading, and what books have meant something to you, and what books, did you thought were really good, and what books you thought were really bad. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Click subscribe if you haven't already. Click the bell notification if you want to be updated when I upload videos, and I guess I will talk to you all later. Alright, hope you're enjoying your reading, and bye!